Is this how you wear scarves? Yeah, that looks pretty good, right? I don't even know. It is finally cool enough to wear a hoodie. Oh, hold on. No, that's okay. It's because there's nothing really to film in front of in there right now, so I'm just filming in my room.
Oh, in front of your new window.
No, in front of my little shelf that has my Chloe Dillers and my turtle on it. Anyway, as I was saying, it is finally cool enough to wear a hoodie and a scarf. And a toque if you want to, but I feel like that's overdoing it. To wear a hoodie and a scarf and a toque inside, where it's actually a comfortable temperature. But anyway, because of those things, I'm filming the Finally Fall book tag. I was tagged by Camille from The Chameleon, so thank you so very, very much for tagging me. It made my day. Oh, this is me at the end of the video splicing into the beginning of the video. That this tag was also created by Alina from Tall Tales. Anyway, I have the questions on my trusty phone here, so I'm gonna open them. In the fall, the air is crisp and clear. Name a book with a vivid setting. For this one, I want to say The Night Circus, but I feel like that's a very, of course, type of answer. Like, what's your favorite series? Harry Potter, of course. So, I'm gonna say, I mean, The Night Circus is a default, but we're gonna pick another one. And I'm gonna say The 1,000th Floor, along with its sequel, The Dazzling Heights. They take place in the future, in apartment buildings that are actually basically multiple neighborhoods, because they're in apartment buildings that are literally 1,000 floors high. They're like 3 miles tall and 2 miles wide or something, and they have gyms and restaurants and hotels and schools and houses and apartments and parks and whole neighborhoods and everything. And the way the settings and everything are described and the different like really cool futuristic parties that they have, the setting is very, very well described and vivid, and also in a way that you don't really feel like you're reading descriptions, you're just there in the world. Question 2. Nature is beautiful but also dying. Name a book with beautiful writing but also deals with the heavy topic of loss or grief. It's difficult to answer questions without having my bookshelf in front of me. Behind the camera there are movies, and I want to go to the movies to get my answer, but that's not helpful. Okay, I think I'm going to say 17 and Gone by Nova Rensuma. I absolutely adored the writing in this book. It was so... I feel like whimsical is not the right word, because it's not like magical or anything, but it's... And I also read it over a year ago, so I don't fully remember, but I want to say it was whimsical. The writing I thought was really beautiful, and the writing really drew me in, and I loved the pacing of the storytelling and everything, and I really, really, really enjoyed reading that book as a whole. Because of the way the story kind of unraveled, I wasn't the biggest fan, but I loved the writing, and it did have a fairly heavy topic there was like ghosts and girls disappearing and stuff like that, so I guess I'll go with that. Fall is back to school season. Share a non-fiction book that taught you something new. You know, to be totally honest, I don't really read non-fiction books. There are a few non-fiction books that I would like to read. I actually really want to read An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth by Chris Hadfield. Pretty much the only non-fiction book that I have read. I read On Writing by Stephen King that I had to read for my writer's craft class in grade 12, and then I read We Should Hang Out Sometime by Josh Sundquist. And I learned things in both of them. Like in On Writing, I learned a lot of really interesting things about Stephen King's life and also about writing. The one thing that I remember most from that is to use said when people are talking in dialogue most often, instead of like remarked and quipped and exclaimed and stuff. Just use he said, she said. I learned that. In order to keep warm, it's good to spend some time with people we love. Name a fictional family, household, or friend group you'd like to be a part of. I kind of want to be part of the friend group from The Raven Cycle. I really want to be friends with all of them. I wish I was either their age or they were my age, so it wouldn't be weird. Because that would be weird. Although, they'd be older now. The colorful leaves are piling up on the ground. Show us a pile of fall-colored spines. I can't really get at my books right now. There's boxes in front of them. Maybe I can show you some fall-colored movies? Ooh, Ah. Fall is the perfect time for storytelling by the fireside. Share a book where someone is telling a story. Ooh. Afterworlds, does that count? I think Afterworlds counts. Afterworlds is about a girl getting her first book published, and it alternates chapters between the author's life and getting her book published and all of that stuff, and her book that she gets published. And it was really good, and I thought it was really well done. There were parts of it that I had problems with, but overall I really, really enjoyed it, and I thought it was really cool to read the story and then to read about the author and her friends talking about it and kind of trying to figure out problems with it and how to solve the problems and talking about other people reading it, and it was good. The nights are getting darker. Share a dark, creepy read. The Shining. The Shining was pretty dark and creepy, although I feel like overall, as a whole, it wasn't that scary. I feel like there were other books that I read as a whole that were scary, but there were parts of The Shining that were scarier than other books. Like, in sections, it was really creepy. There were some really creepy parts, specifically the lady in the bathtub. That scene was really creepy. The days are getting colder. Name a short, heartwarming read that could warm somebody's cold and rainy day. Well, that's a nice question. Well, first of all, anything by Casey West. Anything will work. My favorite by Casey West is On the Fence. It's followed closely by Fireside and The Distance Between Us. They're all so good. Casey West, anything by her. They're so warm and fuzzy and adorable. Also, another one actually, because it says short. Casey West's books are fairly short. They're like 300 pages. But specifically short, I'm gonna do a little self-plug thing here. It's actually not my story, but my dad wrote a short story called Bug Jay and Tendamens, and it's actually named after my imaginary friends from when I was little. It's an adorable story about two boys in the 50s, I think, or the 60s, just being boys and playing and having an imagination, and their imagination kind of runs wild, and it just follows their adventures over a few summer days, and it's so adorable. I know I'm biased here because he's my dad, but it was so adorable, and I just was smiling the whole time while I was reading it. I was just like, oh, this is so cute. Anyway, you can read it for free on this website called Bookricks. I will link it in the description if you want to check it out. It's so cute. Fall returns every year. Name an old favorite you'd like to return to soon. I always say that I want to reread The Night Circus, and I really, really do. I actually reread the beginning of it a lot, and I read it to people a lot, because I'm always like, listen to how amazing this is. And I would love to reread it. I actually would really, really love to listen to the audiobook. I've heard the audiobook is really, really well done. The narrator's excellent, but because I have so many unread books already, it stresses me out rereading books. But I would love to reread it or listen to it on audiobook. Very much so. Fall is the perfect time for cozy reading nights. Share your favorite cozy reading accessories. Well, obviously a book. I'm currently reading Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda. But I'll go get them. These are my favorite cozy reading accessories. And I don't know who has done this tag yet or not. I feel like most people have already done it or already been tagged in it by now, so I'm not going to tag anyone. And if you haven't been tagged and you were hoping I would say your name, then I'm really sorry, and you can just pretend I said your name and count yourself tagged.